We gave them to them. They didn't go to Iraq and get them. They were given to them. So it's very simple, you know. For me, it's very easy because I've been there. I've lived in Jordan. I've lived in Iraq. I spent 14 months in Iraq, and I've lived in Beirut, Lebanon. Beirut, Lebanon, we were training the internal security forces of Lebanon, and I was teaching or instructing anti-terrorism and officer survival to keep the internal security forces alive. Because Lebanon at one point was 70% Christian, 30% Muslim. Within 20 years, it's flipped. Now it's 70% Muslim, 20% Christian, or 30% Christian, sorry. So a Christian has a really hard time getting a visa to leave Lebanon unless it's just to visit, but they cannot leave or get a passport. But a Muslim can, because they want to keep the Christians there. And it's really interesting when you live there, when you're there, because we lived in the Babda area, in the Christian area, and we were confined to a building, an apartment complex. But I was the only one that could actually get out and do things, because when I wear the whole gear, I look just like them as long as I don't speak. You know, so they don't speak Spanish, so it's gotta be salam alaikum all the way. But anyway, I've got a short PowerPoint presentation to share with you, to show you, and I want to elaborate a little bit on each of the squares that I present. Some of them I'm just going to pass through because it doesn't pertain to a group like this. Okay, what I did is I actually watered it down a little bit. When I instruct, it's not like being a professor in college where everything's got to be politically correct. I'm instructing police forces, I'm instructing military forces. So I am straightforward, and if they get offended too bad, I don't have to worry about it. I don't believe in political correctness, so if I slip up, please understand, I apologize ahead of time. Every once in a while, the F-bomb slips out before I even realize, because there is hatred. There is hatred. And I also follow the rule of the Quran. This is nothing but a guide for hatred and destruction. That's all it is. It's not a Bible. But it says, love your enemy from the outside and hate him from the inside. So I have learned from them. Okay, I can get along with them. I have no problem getting along with them. Do I trust them? Absolutely not. You know, when people say there are moderate Muslims, there are non-practicing, they're all Muslims. It's all the same belief. When it comes right down to it, I don't trust any of them. Islam, from God or man. You know, the Prophet Muhammad. What comes to your mind when you hear the word Islam or Muslim? Immediately, what do we think about? Terrorism. We think about destruction. We think about bad. We don't think about anything good. It's not like saying Baptist or Presbyterian or Catholic or anything like that. No, we immediately affiliate them with destruction. So it's confusion. On our own soil, Americans experienced the worst terrorist attack in history. And we saw the videos of Islamic people dancing for joy in the streets all over the world. A lot of you have to remember. They showed videos of Iran. They showed videos of all over the world, even in New York City. They were happy. They were proud of what they had done. You know, working with the internal security forces, I got really close to one of the Hezbollah lieutenants. And he would tell me and still brag about the attack on the Marine barracks. They were proud of it. They were, that's all they could ever talk about, is how they attacked the U.S. and they beat them on that one. That's all they care about. We also saw on TV a young Muslim woman saying, I want to take my religion back. People who preach hatred, my religion is not about hatred. You know, remember when the preacher from Gainesville was going to burn the Quran? The Islamic Society from Orange County came out on television, publicly said, if he burns the Quran, we're going to kill him in his front doorsteps. That's a crime. Was it followed through? Did anybody do anything about it? No, it was swept under the rug. You know, we need to stop that. And let me tell you something, folks. 5 years ago, I was saying we're reaching the point of no return. We're beyond that. We're beyond the point of no return. In order for us to take this country back, there's going to be some battles in this country because we got hundreds of thousands of foot soldiers already here. And in order for us to take it back, our own laws are against us. They are using our own laws against us. And we're sitting back. We, the group here, I don't know if everybody here is Republican or what you are, it doesn't matter. The thing about it is we know better. We know right from wrong, but we're doing nothing about it. We sit back and we think the other man's going to do something about it. We talk about it, we discuss it, but that's about it. You know, Donald Trump can't do it alone. We need more than that. We all need to unite. And we all need to protect the people that are going to defend us. Because even when I'm overseas, if I slip up, guess what? My own government is going to crucify me. The State Department can walk in that door at any time right now and shut me down. Because they don't want you to know the reality. They don't want you to know what's here. They don't want you to know about all the doctors in the villages. They don't want you to know where their money's going. You know, these guys appear all of a sudden with some type of doctorate degree. They set up shop. Where is their money going? Is anybody tracking that? It's all funding terrorism. And FBI knows about it. But did you guys know that one of the 9/11 hijackers worked in the villages as an engineer?
No.
Yeah. One of the guys that was killed in airplanes, he worked right here in the villages. They trained in Deltona, or DeLand, I'm sorry, in DeLand. That's where they learn how to fly. Right here, just down the road. We are surrounded. We are surrounded by terrorism. You know, you have a training center just down the road here, the mosque. You know, if anybody says it's not a training center, well, you know what? I'll tell you right now, if you're a sympathizer, or you're a Muslim, you may want to leave the room because I'm going to offend you. I'll tell you that right now. It's something, to me, it's something very serious, very personal. I've lost a lot of friends to roadside bombs. As a matter of fact, in Pakistan, a guy took my mission that I was supposed to take a couple of years ago, and he was sniped out. That would have been me. You know, it was a good friend of mine. So this is something that we need to wake up to. We need to understand that it's not something that our local law enforcement can handle. They're not trained. They're not prepared. They're not ready for it. Anti-terrorism is not about having a jarhead with a long gun. It's not about having a SWAT team. That's not what anti-terrorism is. Anti-terrorism is about intelligence. It's about gathering intelligence and sharing it with each other and preventing, not responding after the fact. You know, it's not something that we can sit back and say, well, the sheriff's department has a SWAT team that's really good. No. What good is a SWAT team when you need help right now and it's going to take 40 minutes for them to get together and respond? You know, it's better training, better intelligence to move forward and really combat terrorism. Many proclaim the true Islam is a peaceful religion. Even President Bush in 2001. That, I can tell you, was political correctness. Because I can't see President Bush saying that. We encourage and embrace differences and promote unity. Anyone even questioning the construction of a mosque in his or her own neighborhood is characterized as intolerant or hateful. I agree with that. I would be intolerant, I would be hateful, because it's going to hurt me. You know, if you notice, a mosque never goes up in a populated area. They try to pick a secluded area where they can actually have their training. They never ever, unless it's in a city, pick an area downtown Leesburg. They don't want one there. They don't want something where people are going to be able to identify and see different coming and going of what they're doing. After all, we were told that all of the bombings and killings are acts of extremists, not Muslims. You know, in a little bit, I'm going to show you the 3 circles of the Muslim faith and what an extremist is and what a moderate Muslim or a non-practicing Muslim is. Now, can we say there are good Muslims? Let me tell you, an Albanian is a Muslim. They're Anglo. They're not Arab. I could say they are good Muslims when it comes to that, you know, because they're non-practicing. They were forced. It's a religion that was forced upon them. Now what they are is they're criminals. They're human traffickers, you know, and they're mobsters. But they're not terrorists, not in the sense of wanting to kill and a mass destruction of people. Okay, we think about fear, anger. Who could forget the day that changed America? You know, I think we all know what we were doing that day. That day, I was having my dental chart done. Every so often before we deploy, they do our dental charts so that they can identify our body. And I was deploying to East Timor, in Indonesia, where they were having a conflict, Muslims and Christians, and we were deploying there a week later, and instead of deploying there, they sent us to East Europe to get closer to the Middle East instead of East Timor. But yeah, I don't think any of us forget that day. Total number killed in the attacks. The official figure as of 9/5/02, 2,819. Is anybody in here a retired FBI agent? Retired law enforcement? I don't know how many of you actually believe this number, but when you have 2 twin towers that house 10,000 employees, okay, at 8:20 in the morning, and they say that only 2,800 people got killed, I don't believe that. Because a lot of people go to work early to read the newspaper, drink a cup of coffee. I'm never late to anything. And I know there's a lot of people like that. I think that's just a number that we can actually be lost in. We can actually get lost with that number and say, okay, possibility. Okay, firefighters, 343. NYPD officers, 23. Port Authority officers, 37. World Trade Center Company, 60. Number of employees who died in one tower, in Tower 1 were 1,400, 600 in Tower 2. Number of nations that were citizens killed, 115. Okay, the ratio was 3 to 1, 3 men to 1 female. And the age was between 35 and 39. Bodies found were 289. Body parts, 19,858 body parts. Number of families who got remains were only 1,717. A lot of people, I got a feeling there were maybe 6,000 people that died, if not more. Because I'll tell you, when those towers came down, all the buildings around them came down too. You know, we lost a lot of people. But our government doesn't want us to hate. You know, they want us to say, okay, it was 2,000 people. They didn't want the number to be higher. And you know, all it takes is a little bit of common sense. Let's think about it. It's there. It's all there. It is confusing for us when we hear the different signals. What is Islam? Is it what the Muslim clerics in the U.S. are saying? Absolutely not. These guys, anything that happens in any part of the world, if you notice, the cleric from Orlando immediately gets on television and immediately starts giving an explanation. What in the hell does he have to do with what happened in France? But what he's trying to do, he's trying to protect his own here. Okay? Look what happened at the polls. Okay, first of all, to me that was not a terrorist act. To me that was more of a hate act. You know, because if that would have been a country western bar or a biker bar, we'd have lost 2 or 3 people. that would have been taken out, not might be. You know? But when you have a bunch of people screaming and going running to the bathroom, obviously, they're easy targets. But to me, that was a hate crime. That was not terrorism. Terrorism comes in three stages. That was only one stage. Unless it got foiled, there's a lot of things that we don't know about that they're keeping away from us. But political correctness, think about it. You're still talking about it right now. They raised $29 million because it was a political correct thing to do. It was a gay club. Any other club, if you guys would have been hit right here, you'd have been forgotten a month later. But being that it was a gay club, all of this little minority, and by the way, I'm not a gay hater. Don't think that. You know, hell, I got a cousin that's a flamer. You know, we all have one in the family. But the thing is, all of these little minority groups that we cater to are now the majority groups. You know, and they are not bending over. They're not. They're doing nothing to help us. They will not give in to any one of us. But yet, how dare you say anything about them? You know, and that's the way they are projected, and they're using all of this. You know, one of the ways that the Muslims are taking us over, and this is the way it was explained to me by Hezbollah, one of the Hezbollah operatives, that they are using the civil rights movement of the U.S. and they're modeling themselves after the civil rights movement because they know it worked. Okay? The civil rights started in the late 50s. Okay? It got really hardcore in the 60s. That's when the riots and all the problems came into play. Then in the 80s, in the 70s, your politicians started preaching black is beautiful. Okay? Then in the 70s, you started the interracial marriages that were not accepted, that were looked bad upon. You know, the ugly girls. The ugly girls were not, were going, you know, to the other side. In the 90s, then it was the pretty girls. Okay? 2000s, it was accepted. It's no big deal. It's absolutely no big deal now. A lot of people have grandkids that are mixed kids. You know, it's not an issue. And that's what they're modeling themselves after. And you know, 2 years ago, I put on a presentation and I was saying, we are at about the 1980s with the Muslim movement. Well, that's what I said 2 years ago, but things have been moving really, really fast. I think we're more like in the 90s. And I have a feeling that we will be taken completely over in about 15 years. I see us living in enclaves. I see us defending little pieces of the territory around here to defend ourselves. Because right now, the Black Lives Matter, we have the intelligence that they're affiliating themselves with ISIS. And that's all the hell we need. Imagine that. You know, when you look at the television, the rioting, the hundreds of thugs out in the streets, you know, that we pay for their birth, we pay for their upbringing, we buy their groceries, we subsidize their housing, we subsidize their food for free. We're raising these people. These are the people that are going to turn on us. These are the people that are joining ISIS. They're the biggest percentage of Muslim conversions in this country. You know, and it's all about crime. It's all about money. There's a construction company out of Wildwood. They're very big. They're the biggest construction company in the villages that hires undocumented labor. They hire a lot of the Mexican, Central Americans. They give them work for a week to prove themselves. You work for free for 1 week. If you can cut it, I'll hire you next week. Free labor. He hired a group of Muslims, that they were all about 6, 7 of them, that came in across the border illegally, and they worked for about a month. They had to work together because nobody else understood them, and they disappeared. They're gone. You know, and it's money. It's money. The guy that owns this company is an Anglo-American from Michigan. You know, who came here broke in a pickup truck, and the village has made a millionaire out of him. So now he's doing this instead of giving back to society in one way or another. No, he keeps on raking it in for himself. So this is what killing us. When I was a U.S. Border Patrol agent, working the border, I was working the San Diego, Tijuana border. We were arresting between 800 and 1,200 people, 36 agents, from San Isidro to the beach, about a 5-mile stretch of canyons and mountains. Between 800 and 1,200 people, and they were estimating we were only getting 1 out of 20. 19 went north. When we would put scope up in the air and look down, it looked like roaches. It looked like bugs crawling all through the woods. You know, this was 25 years ago. Imagine now. I remember climbing the canyons and climbing the mountains, and all of a sudden there would be 30 or 40 Chinese, 30 or 40 Indians from India, Pakistanis or whatever. And all of these people, our government is so smart that they have a form. They got a form for the Mexicans, and then they got OTM, other than Mexican. So you fill out the OTM form, and I'd hand it to you, and you will take that form. You have 30 days to show up in court. You think you're going to show back?
Come back.
So, we're destroying ourselves. Our own laws are destroying ourselves. As Christians, it does not matter which version regarding Islam is true. Obviously, it doesn't matter. You either believe or don't believe. If you're a tree hugger, you're going to think you're going to hug one of these guys and get over with. No, it doesn't work that way. First of all, they can't touch you if you're a woman. That's why they're frustrated. A man can't touch you. If he's going to greet you, he's going to put his hand over his heart, Salam alaikum. He can only touch a man. Because men are for pleasure and women are for making babies. Foot soldiers. That's the mentality. That's how sick they are. By the way, to me, all Arabs are bisexual. Every one of them. But yet, they have a great hatred for gays. They hate the gay community, but yet they're bisexual. It's accepted in their country. It's sickening when you see them sitting there and another guy comes and sits in their lap and then they hold their hand, talk, That's normal. But yet I guess that's why they wear dresses, I don't know. So we'll ask what about the dangers Christian face from Islamists. When you meet the unbeliever, this is from the Quran. In the battlefield, strike off their heads. When you have laid them low, blind your captives firmly. Then grant them their freedom to take ransom from them until war shall lay down her burdens. I worked with one of my partners when I was with the United Nations was an Egyptian. And when a Muslim tells you, I love you, believe it. Believe it. They're very faithful friends. When they become your friend, they are very faithful. And he said, we were at a restaurant in Pristina, in Kosovo. And he says, my friend, I love you so much that when the day of calling comes, I'm going to travel to America and I'm going to kill you to save you. That's how much he loved me. Says, I'll tell you what, you son of a bitch, you let me know when you're coming so I can go pick you up. I'll be waiting for you. But that's the way they think, and there's nothing wrong with it. They all think it's perfect. There's no nation but we shall destroy, sternly punish before the day of resurrection. This is a creed from the eternal book. That's their belief. As for those who are slain in the cause of God, this is for them. He will not allow their works to perish. He will, whatever that word is, I was trying to figure it out. Vouchsafe them guidance and then ennoble their state. He will admit them to paradise. He has made them known to them. In other words, a lot of people say 72, a lot of people say 74. I guess it doesn't matter how many virgins are up in heaven. You know, think about it. You're a 36-year-old frustrated male that's never touched a woman, and we come across that all the time because they start asking us questions. You know, so you're 36, 37 years old, never touched a woman, never been married because the father never found a bride for you or whatever. And then some clown comes along and tells you there are 72 virgins up in heaven for you. If you go commit this crime or you go blow yourself up, you go to heaven and you're the man. I'm like, you know what? If that was true, I wouldn't mind if they were slightly used. But that's, you know, it's okay, jihad. Jihad is fighting anybody who stands in the way of spreading Islam, or fighting anyone who refuses to enter Islam. You know, to me, we are in a jihad right now. Okay, a jihad is simply the wanting to take over, and they want to take over the world, and they are going to take over the world. There is no doubt in my mind. You know, things have changed so much in the past 10 years, 15 years, that it is amazing. In Mexico, in Yucatan, I just came from Yucatan, and I was not at a resort. But there are hundreds and hundreds, thousands of Muslims, and they're all migrating north. Guess where they're headed? They're all migrating north. And where does the money come from? It comes from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is supporting terrorism. And who is giving billions of dollars to Saudi Arabia?
We are.
The richest country in the world, we are giving money to. You know? We have to buy our friends. The hell with them. You know, Grit Wilder, he was an author that put it very plain and simple. He says, don't let them migrate. Keep them all in the Middle East. Let them kill each other. The hell with them. Leave them alone. They want to live like they did 2,000 years ago. Leave them alone. Let them kill each other. You know, instead, what were we doing here? 7 years ago, I was in Beirut. We were arming the Lebanese. We were giving them ground transportation, while the Russians were giving them the jets to fight in the air. Who are they against? It's a war between them and the Israelis. It's an ongoing war, ongoing battle. As a matter of fact, I went to 2 battles. You know, you could actually see them fighting. And so what side are we on? What are we doing? You know, we tend to poke here, poke there, and that's why the world hates us. We are hated throughout this planet. And when you travel a lot, you see it. Especially if you're blonde and blue-eyed, my God, they hate you. Because I fit in. I was in an elevator with an old gentleman that, and over there, if you're wealthy, you travel with bodyguards, and he had 2 bodyguards, and they gave me the nastiest look when we got in the elevator together. Because to them, we're dirty. We're dirt. And one of the bodyguards spoke to me. He says, "Are you American?" Well, no, I'm not American. When I travel, I'm not American. I'm Mexican. You know?
Smart.
You know, and I have a leather jacket. It's got Mexico and it's got the eagle in the middle. And I wear it because I always wear cowboy boots. Always. I don't own a pair of shoes. And he says, "No Ameriki, Mexiki." I go, "Yeah, I'm Mexiki." And I'll tell you what, it went from hate to a big smile. Big smile. Those guys took me out drinking that night. Oh, they're not supposed to drink because they're Muslim, but they took me to a bar. I went out drinking. I had the best time of my life, you know, with all three of them. But if I would have said I was American, oh hell, I don't know what would have happened, you know. So a lot of times I travel with a group of guys that look like me. And the stewardesses hate us because when we first, like Air France, we fly Air France, I make sure when I walk by the stewardess, I say, hey, listen, I'm not Arab. I let them know I'm not Arab. They all smile at me afterwards because I want them to know. Nothing like that. Because if we get in, when I go to the UAE, I go to Dubai quite often. They try to give me the newspaper, the backward stuff, and you know, I'm like, no, I don't understand. I can't read it. Some of us are Muslim, and some are wrongdoers. Those that embrace Islam pursue the right path, but those that do wrong shall become the fuel of hell. The Quran. Here we go, the Islamic invasion. As of December, okay, this is old, 2005. 1.6 billion people. One person in four, Islam, the call to modern world, the fastest growing religion on earth. This is in 2005. Look at the countries, 42 countries, 42 nations that are completely Islamic. And I'll tell you right now, some of these countries in Africa, they convert just to commit crimes because they get catered to and they get funded. And that's all it is. And that's what's going to happen here in this country. You know, what does a protest against Donald Trump have to do with stealing a TV out of the damn store? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But yet that's what they're doing. That's what they want to do. When you have that mentality of being a hunter and preying on others, that's what you're going to do. When we support you and you don't have to get up to go to work tomorrow morning, guess what? You stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning and raise hell and burn flags and do whatever you want. Because we're going to feed you.
Is Soros a Muslim? Is Soros a Muslim?
Soros,
Islamic?
He's close to it.
yes. There are different fashions. You know, they're different sects of it. The thing about it is, they all have the same belief when it comes right down to it. It all comes down to the Quran. There's only one Quran, and no matter what side you choose or whatever, it's like being an Orthodox Catholic or being Catholic. You know, and I'm not Catholic, so I really don't even understand that one there. People look at me, they automatically think I'm Catholic. My mother's grandfather founded the very first Protestant church in Mexico, and that's in history. That's really cool because the church still stands, the mother church. So it's when people say, hell, I'm Baptist. I guess I'm Baptist. I don't know, that's the closest thing I can come to. So on my dog tags it says Baptist. So if I get whacked, it'll be a Baptist preacher that comes over. Compared to chart number of Muslims to those claiming to be Christian faith. This is the world population, 1900, 1980, and 2000, the percentages. As you can see, they were pretty close then. So now it's 2005 projected 25% Christian to 30% Muslim. The odds are really not good. Most Muslim countries have either closed their borders to missionaries or have made evangelism illegal or both. If you get caught in any Muslim country with a Bible in your hand, you're going to be decapitated right off the bat. And the guy that kills you is going to be your hero. If I hold this Quran right here, since I look like him, and one of you kills me, guess what? You go to prison. You know? And obviously people are going to say, you know, we live in a society that's civilized. We lived in a civilized society. When are we going to stop that? When are we going to think different and defend ourselves? You know, there's a time to put an end to stupidity. You know, those of you that are Vietnam veterans, you know, if they'd have let you fight, what would have happened? If they'd have turned you loose properly, you know, the outcome would have been different. You know, we could have made a parking lot out of Iraq in days. You know, we can go to Syria and make a parking lot out of Syria in a matter of days, hours. But yet we got to go down to their level while they use tactics that are really unfair for us. Why are we losing our young men and women over there for no reason? That is what I don't understand. Why be the most powerful country in the world if we can't use it?
Money.
No, it's our educational system.
That's why.
They're teaching everything but the God, country, they're teaching everything about loving one another, doesn't matter who you are, it's our educational system.
Well, you know what, and you're right. Any young man or woman that goes to a university.
Yes.
I have a daughter that I raised. I've got two daughters. One's giving me a headache, and the other one is great, and they're twins. And you know, it's she just got her criminal justice degree, and she's going to pursue her law degree, which I'm really proud of her. And you know, oh my God, man, my little girl, one left. And I'm like, what the hell happened to you? You know? Oh, Dad, so I went out and bought her a gun, you know, before I left. I said, I'm going to take you to the range, I'm going to teach you how to shoot the damn thing, and maybe I'll flip you around and turn your back to reality, you know? But our young men go to college, and they come out a bunch of sissies. I don't know what they're teaching them. You know, they're not. My father used to tell me, I want you to be a 1%er. He says, there's one man in every 100. In every 100 guys, there's only one real man. He goes, I expect you to be the 1%. Well, I tell my sons, there's one in every 1,000. Things have really changed. Things have really, really turned around. You know, guys don't want to support a family. They don't want to take any kind of responsibility right now. But yet they're educated. They go to college, and they come out, and they're very left-wing. They're very forgiving.
That's the education.
That's it.
It's the educational
You
system.
commit a crime as a politician,
Blame it.
commit a crime and say, I'm sorry, you're forgiven. You're immediately forgiven.
Yeah.
You know, instead of people thinking, well, wait a minute, we don't want him or her because of this reason, you know, they still will vote for him. Look at Hillary.
Yeah.
Man, Tuesday we were all glued to the TV. We found a little bar over there, and we said we want to watch Fox News, and we were glued to the TV all night, you know, waiting to see what happened. And right out the gate, he took it and stayed with it. That was awesome. Islam is not only a dominant religion in North Africa, it began in Saudi Arabia. But now non-Arab Muslims outnumber Arab Muslims. The four nations with the largest number of Muslims today outside the Middle East is Indonesia with 150 million. Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India, 1 million. That's a lot of people. And you know, who has suffered more than anybody in the world at the hands of Muslims if it's not the Indians? So now they're converting. And who do we have to thank for that? The Brits. They're the ones that went and created this mess in the 50s. But anyway, you know what? I'm going to put this down because I'd rather talk about America's converted to Islam, U.S., and we're going to get to this, to the meat of the bones here. Pretty simple. The largest growing Muslim converters is the black community. Is the black community and in prison.
You're right.
Guess who the second is?
big cities on welfare, people on welfare in the big cities.
The second biggest conversion rate are females.
Yes, because a friend of
Females.
mine's daughters turned to Muslim.
Because if I'm Muslim
College.
and I marry a non-Muslim, she is automatically Muslim. Because as a man, you have to rule. And that's why they do not allow Muslim women to marry a Christian man. There are very few. There are a few that it does happen, but it doesn't compare to. I gave a presentation here not too long ago, and there's a little old lady sitting at the front, and she got mad at me, and she says, "My granddaughter married a Muslim man, and he's a nice guy. What do you think about that?" I said, "Well, ma'am, I think your granddaughter's an idiot." You know, there's so many men out there. Why in the world would you pick a Muslim? I told my two girls, you come, I'll shoot both of you. You know, are you kidding me? You know, for what I do, to have somebody bring me a Muslim to the house and say, "Hey, Dad, look, we're gonna have 9 Muslim kids." I don't think so. It's not gonna happen. But you know, it's one of these things where we need to wake up. We need to wake up. We need to understand. I've lived it. You have no idea what it's like to hear a car bomb just a quarter of a mile away and have all these panels fall down from the shock wave. You know, you have no idea what it's like to respond to that car bomb and find bodies intact that died at a distance from the shock wave. They weren't not even shrapnel, nothing. You know, or a vest bomber that explodes himself, and all you see is from the knees down, and you might be able to find a head, but everything else is gone. You know, you know, it's things that they're really hard to explain when you live them. Like I said, I watered this down because what I did is I had a lot of graphic pictures, and I have a lot of things to show the military and to show the police officers. You know, I didn't want to come here with a lot of that stuff, but I was in Iraq at the Baghdad College. I was instructing at the college when 2 vest bombers came in and killed hundreds of police officers. They were all lieutenants and above that we were training, we were preparing. We took them all out. And the majority of them were killed by the shockwave. You know, it had nothing to do with the shrapnel, the marbles, or the ball bearings in the vest or whatever. It was all immediate death. Just, you know, and it's a very scary thing. You know, it's not, and it's here, ladies and gentlemen. It's here. It's here. We will see roadside bombings here within the next 4 or 5 years. You know, we're going to see a lot of more of the malls going down. You know, all it takes is a little bit of intelligence. They have better intelligence than we have. All it takes is for somebody to go to the villages and say, "Hey man, every Friday night they have dancing at the square. There's hundreds of people there. We can take them out." I can come in here as a bad guy. All I have to do is pull up to the gate
Yeah.
in an old truck, put a lawnmower in the trailer, palm fronds, and hide the bomb underneath it, and say, "Hey, I'm going to so and such and such a place. We're going to go do some trimming." If you don't give them an address, just tell them you're going to the rec center. "I'm going to the rec center." Sure, it's right there. They'll even point you to it. Don't believe that those gates are your protection. That's nothing but a fallacy. That's nothing but a fallacy.
Just keeping the good guy out.
You know, it's slowing the good guy from coming in. It does do that, but
Walmart greeters.
sorry.
They're Walmart greeters.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to call it.
Okay, now that we're victims, okay, what do we do about it? Okay, because we're victims right now.
Mhm.
What can we do? What's the solution to do something about this problem?
You know,
All this PC, we can't, our hands are tied around here. That's going on. You can't even say anything ugly about your neighbor because they'll sue you.
you know, you have to unite.
The Muslim lawyer.
Obviously, you have to unite, and you have to fight back. You have to fight back. So, you know, I'm not a politically correct person. okay? And I refuse to be politically correct.
Me too.
I think that's destroying our country. I've seen it, and it's gotten carried away. We have allowed the left wing to completely take over when it comes to that. We need to be able to take it back. You know,
How?
Yeah, how I.
just by doing it, by doing it, by doing it. They're gonna get used to it. They will get used to it eventually. Hell, I had a chief of police tell me once, you know, so-and-so is gay, don't call him gay. I said, what the hell do I call him?
Happy?
He says, don't call him, he's a person from an alternative lifestyle. I said, that's too long.
That's too long.
I said, what if I call him a fag? He goes, no, please, call him gay. Call him gay. Don't, you know, the thing is, you have to understand the political correctness is destroyed. You know, when I'm going down the road down the turnpike and I get pulled over by a state trooper, so sir, you know, you were doing so many miles. No, I know you pulled me over because I'm brown and I'm driving this pickup truck. I have no problem. You know, search. I have nothing to hide. Why should I get mad? If I get mad, it means I have something to hide. I have nothing to hide. Go ahead and search it. Or when I board an airplane and they take me to secondary search. Look at me. Come on.
They do it
Are
to
you
me
gonna
too.
are you gonna search little Susie behind me? And that happens a lot because of political correctness. The little blonde girl behind me gets searched, and to me, go ahead, sir. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
They
You
say
know?
it all the time.
But that's not gonna change though. How do you change it? You can't
Yeah.
change
We
it.
just, you know, it's just uniting. We have to unite. We have to unite, and we have to just force it. It's got to be a forced thing. You can't. They forced it on us. It was forced on us. You know, we can't. When I was running for sheriff here a few months ago, that was one of the things that I was pushing. I wanted to put an end to that kind of stupidity. Okay. First of all, you have people that are protesting. You tell them. You group want to protest, sure, you can protest. It's all legal. The first one that breaks the law, I'm shutting you down.
Yeah, right.
That's
I'm
right.
shutting
I
you
agree.
down.
I agree, but they don't.
You know, you block the street, that's it. I'm sorry, everybody go home.
They shoot.
And if you don't go home, you're gonna be arrested.
Yeah.
Guess what happens once the first crime's committed? The crowd gets bigger. And once it gets bigger, you can't help it because every thug's gonna come out from all the surrounding areas because now they're gonna hit Kmart and they got the big screen TVs there that are free,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know? And you can't say that because, oh my God, you're gonna offend the black community.
You're racist.
Yeah.
Well, goddamn it, 75% of our prisons are full of blacks.
Yeah.
You know, when people say, well, you're picking on the Hispanics and the blacks. 75% of our population, inmate population is Hispanic and black. You know, what are we supposed to do about it?
The people in this community, or some of them, a segment of them, have been ahead of the politicians for several years, because I've introduced them to John Matuzas, and they know about the dangers, not as explicit, direct as you've shown, but we're ahead of the politicians. Now, Donald Trump is gonna change things, but is he gonna change fast enough and widespread enough to stop? Well, for example, we know at the federal level, Muslim Brotherhood has permeated all of our agencies. Homeland Security, FBI, everything. Now that, I don't hear anybody talking about that problem, but, so we got a stealth jihad and we got a jihad coming at us with weapons. Both.
We got both. We have both. And a lot of it is going to be from within. They've already infiltrated our government. They've infiltrated law enforcement. They've infiltrated, there's a lot of elected officials that are Muslim.
Yeah.
And it's they've taken over cities. And there's nothing we can do about it unless we unite and we fight back. And when I say we fight back, we have to literally fight back, you know? The thing is, we have to put our foot down. We have a county commissioner here with us tonight. And you know, her hands are tied. Her hands are tied. If Muslims come in and say, we want to put a mosque up on such and such a place, her hands are going to be tied. Our law ties her hands, even if she doesn't want it to approve it. Guess what? Somehow it'll be approved. And it's nothing but a training center, you know? And that's what they're doing. They are using everything. You know, Donald Trump, God, I wish that everybody in his cabinet thought like him. But unfortunately, they're gonna start going after his brain and telling him, you gotta be politically correct, you can't do this, you can't do that. You know what? If you wanna send back all of the illegal aliens, send them back. Don't think
Right.
twice about it. Let's go in full force and start sending them back. You know, it's time to take the country back. But we can't do that. You know, now he's talking about a couple million criminals. Think about it. A couple million criminals. Million. You know? But then 25 years ago, in one 8-hour shift,
They got rid of.
when we were getting 1 out of 20, how many went north? You know, do the math. 1,200 people we arrested every 8 hours. In a 24-hour time period, how many got north? You know, it's amazing. It really, you know, sometimes when you look at the numbers, you're like, you can't believe it. You don't believe it. You're like, that's unbelievable. I was there. I was working the border. I know. They used to have what they call the bonsai. I would be standing here in uniform, and all of a sudden, that's the wall. 100 of them would climb the wall and run at me at the same time. It was like, how many was I gonna tackle? You know?
See, I believe, but I tell my sons, I got 4 of them, but I got 12 great grandkids. And I tell them, because of the education, this is my feeling, I said, they're not gonna go. I said, my sons, you'll get through this. But by the time they get up, they won't know any different. I think it's great. Because that's the way they taught. They don't know it. It's been brought into them, you know? I don't know how you stop that. That's what I'd like to know. You're right.
You know, it's just, you gotta form different groups, different clubs, and just stick with it, and you're gonna be thrown lawsuits, and you're just gonna have to fight the lawsuits and defend yourself. I mean, that's about the only way you can do it. I've got a plan, in case it hits the fan for me and my family,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
But more people need to have a plan
Yeah.
on what to do, because when the law drops, you're on your own.
Right.
You're on your own, because if the UN rolls up to the county line, I don't think the sheriff's department's got enough force to stop it.
No, that's right. I agree.
You know? And you know, the only good thing about the United Nations is it's a third world employer. That's all the UN is. And the UN, when you bring a bunch of, I better not say it too rough, but when you bring a bunch of people from the middle of Africa and they're chicken shit.
It's right.
They're afraid.
Exactly right.
And that's the only thing that's going to save us. What saves this country is the fact that we bear arms. Anybody that invades us is going to face the citizens too. It's not just the military, you know. And they know it. Yes, sir.
Do you think, do you have any hope at all for, we just had an election when the Republicans won, where Trump won, and he obviously has a different agenda, and it's my hope that with the Republican Senate and Republican House, that things may change some. Okay, one example would be the sanctuary city. Okay, if they come against sanctuary city, that's my hope. I know beat that on the other side. I guess I still have hope that things can change. They can make a difference.
No, you know, there is hope. There's hope that it's going to slow down. There's hope that it's going to slow down. But right now, what we're facing, and I think what everybody else is talking about, is the foot soldiers that are here. You know, there's already, you know, in 2009, Obama, when he first took office, and this is something that nobody really even found out about, he admitted 100,000 Palestinians into the country. You know, not too many people know about that.
Yeah.
I was sitting in Beirut. 8 months later, they sent us home because he cut all the programs. You know, but 100,000 Palestinians are one of your worst enemies. They hate us.
This is an important message you're giving us, and I hear that message, so it's fine.
You know, and it's one of these things where, what's the guy thinking? You know, now he wanted to bring in some Syrians. You know,
What do you think, just recently, as we grew up, when you have a change of people taking over roles like now, Trump's going to become president, now you have these high school kids from different schools throughout the country. Now they're leaving school to protest. Now, most of these kids obviously can't even vote because they're underage.
None of them
But
vote.
now they're protesting, they leave school. So what happened to the control? Where are the teachers? Where's the administration stopping them? Or who's letting them out and what's the motive behind it?
The teachers are telling.
You know, the thing about it is unfortunately, this can turn around, all of this can turn around if we give the school system the right to discipline like they did us.
Yeah, right.
You know, we fear the teacher, the principal, the dean, or whatever. If they start at the third grade level, second grade, first grade, in 10 years, it'll flip. In 10 years, that respect will then come into effect into the colleges and everything else. And what's gonna happen is, that's when the school shootings are gonna come to an end. And all, when did school shootings start? Think about it. Early 80s, mid 80s. That's after they stopped the paddling and all of that. And I hate to say this, but it was my generation that ruined every damn thing. You know, we were the last ones to get paddled. And then what you did is a bunch of people that had kids that are my age now. They had kids and their kids got a little spoiled. So now they're the ones that are having kids. They're the ones that have the rotten kids in school right now. And the teachers can't do nothing about it. And that has created a problem within the teachers also. Because there's a lot of worthless teachers. I'll tell you that right now. There's a lot of teachers out there. I know one in Marion County that takes a bag of candy and gives them candy all day long, and that's it. She doesn't teach. You know? But how can you weed out the good from the bad? How do you know which teacher is good and which one is bad? I don't know.
Are you aware that Saudi Arabia has bought up all the land around here? And that, like where we are over there, they're supposed to be building homes all over there. And they got all the way towards Orlando. They bought up all that land. Saudi
I've got it.
owns it.
Got it up here somewhere. They spend, American women make the second largest. They spend $50 million, $50 million a year. And how they're doing it is they're giving it to different universities.
So back to education.
Yeah, and
We saw that in that, Obama file.
But anyway, they're giving it to different universities here in this country. And that's how they want Islam to be taught. They want it as part of the curriculum, part of the program. And they're getting it.
That's right.
But yet you can't say the Pledge of Allegiance anymore in school. You can't pray in the morning.
Burning our
You
flag.
can't have a Christian group,
But you can
But
breathe
kids
out the
praying.
breath.
but they can get away with it. They're modeling themselves after the civil rights movement. You know?
well, was Obama a Muslim? Is he a Muslim?
It is, yes.
It just appears every bit of his people are troublemakers.
Not only is he Muslim, he's
one.
also Kenyan,
Yeah,
you know. And that's gonna come out later. Obviously, right now, everything's hush-hush, but it'll come out later. He's actually Kenyan.
Okay, we've got time for one more question on topic. Ask him
I
something
have
about.
a question about Lebanon. You mentioned about Lebanon. Apparently, they recently elected a Christian as their head of the country, and yet they only have. You said they only have 30% of the population.
30% of the population, but
Will he be able to affect anything?
I think he will.
As well as pocket?
oh, definitely, because he can control the internal security forces. And the thing with the Lebanese were conquered by the French for many years, and they're not strictly all Arab. It's a mixture. They don't dress. Not all of them wear the distache and all that. A lot of them, dress very modern. The thing about it is, Lebanese stick together very close because of the ongoing war with Israel, and they hate Israel. But no, he can do a lot of good. He can do a lot of good, and the reason that he got elected, I'll tell you, the reason he got elected, it would be like me or Wendy trying to drum up votes in the black community. There are not. The Muslims are the same way. You go to a Christian neighborhood, and it's nice, clean, and beautiful, and you drive across the street, now you hit the Muslim area, and there's cans and stuff and trash all over the place. I don't understand. It's the same people, but just a whole different mentality. But I love Beirut. Beirut is beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. Very, very modern, and Osama bin Laden's got a lot of family there.